And we're back for another casual conversation with the classic. I'm here with none other than the Pacific Northwest very own, AEW's very own, Nick Wayne. How are we doing today, man?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
I'm good. Long time coming. I've known you forever. We finally got to catch up this a couple of weeks ago in LA. It was good to see you. How have you been, man?
I've been really good, bro. Like you said, we've known each other for a long time. You were actually there for my very first match.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I was just thinking, like, I remember seeing you when you were a kid coming to the Defy shows.
Mhm.
You used to come up to me, tell me how you used to love the page. And obviously, you're the son of Buddy Wayne. And at the time, a lot of the people wrestling Defy were trained by your father there. And to see you now doing it's cool, man. To know that you were at these shows. Like, so I have to ask you, what was the thing that influenced you most to really want to do this? Like, what made you want to break in?
So like you said, my father being Buddy Wayne and so many like students of his doing shows in the Northwest, because he had the wrestling school and I was always just like around the students and the school, it was very hard not to kind of love wrestling, or fall in love with wrestling because I'm seeing it all the time. And when there wasn't training going on, there's always some type of wrestling on some type of television or a laptop or a tablet or something. So I'd
Yeah.
always be seeing some type of wrestling or playing with action figures. So everywhere I looked, there was some type of wrestling. So it was just like impossible not to fall in love with it, but I'm not complaining.
Yeah. So what age were you? Because obviously you were 16 when you got signed to
Mm.
AEW, and you have to wait till you're 18 so you can start. What age did you actually start training then? Because I guess if your dad's one of the trainers on the Pacific Northwest training all these wrestlers, like you must have been like, when did you take your first bump?
9,
Oh
9.
wow, yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
so yeah, when I was like 7 and 8, I would like mess around in the ring by myself after training. Like I would watch what they would learn and do, and I get in there by myself and try to like mimic it
Yeah,
and do it myself. But it was just me. But then when I was 9, I was like, Dad, I was like, I want to get in here with them. He's like, all right, let's do it. And at 9, I was taking tackles and hip tosses and bumping.
so when I used to come down to those Defy shows a lot in 2018 and 2017, 19, that period, a lot of the main events were between Swerve and Darby Allin. Now you're a peer and working with both of them in AEW. Would you want to describe your relationship with both of them? Like, what's your relationship with Darby Allin and what's your relationship with like Swerve?
So with Darby, as many people know, we started training at the same time. We became very connected and close because he trained at my father's school around the same time that I started training. And he was one of those ones that was very dedicated to it. And whenever you open the doors, he would be there. So I
Yeah,
would see Darby maybe 5, sometimes 6 times a week. We would go on like family vacations together. Sometimes we
yeah.
go to like Silverwood and Idaho or like to theme parks and stuff like that. Um, so I was just around Darby all the time. And then seeing him grow into what he did on the independents and then obviously into what he's doing at AEW was like an amazing thing to see. And then him offering me the contract at 16 was like something that I'll never take for granted. I'll never forget. Probably one of the best days of my entire life. And with Swerve is I first started meeting him at Defy shows. I only saw him at Defy shows. And when I first started seeing him, I was only doing independents in Canada.
Yeah.
And yeah. And I think around when I was like 14 is when I started to break out into like the US indie scene because you had to have a license to wrestle in Washington. And
Oh
to get the
wow.
license, you had to be 18. And I was not 18 and I
Yeah,
did not have a license.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yes. But I remember there was this one show to go off the rails real quick. There's this one show in Washington that they went to the Department of Licensing and was like, yo, we have this kid, he's 14, he's Buddy Wayne's son. Is there any way we can get him to wrestle? And they're like, oh, we knew who Buddy was. And they're like, we love Buddy. Let his son wrestle. It's good. It's like, well, here we go. So
Yeah.
that's how I started wrestling in the States. But Swerve, yeah, I started seeing him more at Defy. I saw him every Defy show. He's main eventing every Defy show, 30-plus minute matches. And every match just felt like they were getting better and better and better. And then once I started doing Defy is when I started to talk to him more and he started to maybe agent my matches or watch my matches and give me critiques and stuff. So he started off as like a mentor and a teacher to me. We then went on to be two of the best opponents, one going head to head. Me and him have put on 2 matches before, both 30-plus minutes. Um, the second one for the Defy World Champion, which I took from him.
Yeah.
And then we then went on to have my first match in AEW, and then we had an entire rivalry. So we went from teacher and mentor to enemies pretty quick.
So you saying teacher and mentor, what's one piece of advice you think you got from Swerve that you've carried with you the most or hit you the hardest that you kept with you?
I know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
when I It was my second Defy show ever. So my Defy debut was a 2-night show. The first one was a tag match. The second night I did a scramble. He agented the scramble match, and when he watched it, he noticed I do this a lot. I do this to get the crowd fired up. I do this, and
Yeah.
he's like, when you do this, you're asking for the crowd to cheer for you. And then he was like, I know, like you're young and you're new here, and it's a habit, but one day you won't have to do this, and all you'll have to do is this and just look at them and they'll give you the same reaction because of your overall presence, but that'll just come over time and with how you kind of put yourself out there. So it was cool that like 2 years later when I would do something in the ring and after I would just stand there and look and they would all just rise like crazy, and I'd remember I was like, I remember 2 years ago I'd go like this to get them to rise, and now I just have to stand there and it's the same reaction,
I
which
feel
is
like
what he
I
taught me.
feel like I've seen you do that look now a couple of times
Yeah,
recently.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's he taught me that.
yeah, and then let's go back to Darby really quickly before we move on. What's like as a kid? Obviously, you grew up with him, you've seen him. What's the craziest memory you have of Darby? What's the first time you saw him do something where you're like, "Oh, this guy's a little, this guy's a little crazy."
It's not really crazy, but kind of
But
what like made my dad open his eyes to Darby, like, whoa, what is this guy's special? Was it was his first day and he was taking bumps and he was like athletic and he could flip. So he was like, try a flip bump. And he was like, can you do a flip bump real quick? He's like, yeah, sure. And he just does a front flip and lands on his feet. And he was like, whoa, what? And then he was like, that's not a flip bump, but do it again. And he flips, lands on his feet, and he was like, wow. And he's like, we have something special because he's very athletically gifted. But when it comes to crazy stuff, I've seen him do like some crazy skating stuff in
yeah,
Seattle. I've seen him lick the entire gum wall. He stood on a skateboard and rode down the whole gum wall and licked the whole thing.
yeah,
Um, yeah, he oh my god. One time he has this like Febreze bottle, and
yeah.
inside the bottle he had like fart spray, and he would like spray it and be like, "Yo, let me know how this smells." And he'd spray it in your face, and you smell it. It smelled like ass.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you've been in AEW for a minute now. You've been killing it. It's been a hell of a run so far. What are some of the things you've learned being in AEW now compared to the independents? What are things that have stuck to you in this company?
Obviously, I think like obviously when it comes to like timing, it's way more strict on the TV aspect because you are on national television in a certain time period or block, rather than on the independents. Whether you are on a streaming service or network, um, there's not really like a set time. They're not like you have 2 hours, and if it's not over by 2 hours, it's cut. You know, it's
Yeah,
like it's gonna go on however long it goes on. But TV, obviously, time is way more important. You're on national television. You have from 8 to 10 at night. There's no going past 10.
yeah,
um, but obviously, I think in ring wise, that less is more on TV. I started to learn on the independents within my last like 6 months there that less was more, and then TV is kind of just like a whole nother kind of version and envision of less is more because they have these, I don't want to say shorter periods of time, but it's like stricter time. So what you do, you want to make sure is worth it. And you don't want to be like wasting time when you're out there. So figuring out less is more and how to kind of do that and structure it is what I've learned the most in ring wise.
Another thing I read that you actually answered this question before, another thing that I read that I found really interesting is that you come to the realization that you actually don't need to wrestle every week, that you can be
Mhm.
in segments and still remain a prominent figure on the television show. And and I think in the independents, and I always used to talk about this when I talk to some of my friends and people that are coming up, I'm like, I feel like in the independents, people don't really like that's where you learn your fundamentals and you're trying to get your reps in and you're trying to put on bangers so you get noticed. And it's really about the wrestling, which is totally understandable, but people don't really talk that often and they don't really practice the promos and they're not really practicing the segments and all that extra stuff that comes along with professional wrestling once you get to a national level. How has that transition been for you being involved in more segments and cutting promos and having to talk? Because it's newer to you, I would expect.
Yes, like you said, like on the independents, it was more about kind of getting reps and getting yourself out there and trying to get noticed. So you would pick up every single booking that came your way,
Yeah.
and you would just. I remember from 16 to 18 is when I started doing like big independent shows, and I was wrestling 3, 4 times a week every weekend for 2 years, and I was just going ham every single time, uh, because I wanted to get noticed and get more popularity. And then once I got noticed, I was like, okay, I need to ride this wave, so I just keep going crazy. And whenever there was like a segment, like not a segment, but like a longevity feud on the independents, it would be maybe like a match with some kind of wacky finish, maybe one promo, and then a big match. It was never really dragged out like this, where, for instance, this angle we're doing right now, in AEW, it's been months, and we've had two matches maybe. So it's definitely showing like segments are very much so longevity, and I feel like people think you can't do that, but you most definitely can if done the right way. And I'm learning how to do it the right way via Christian Cage and Adam Copeland and Sting and Darby. It's like, yeah, you can definitely get longevity out of these segments. And people tell me all the time, like other friends that I have, they're like maybe on the independents, they're like, dude, you haven't wrestled in weeks. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't need to right now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, as much
And
as
then
I
when you
want
do
to,
wrestle,
yeah, I
it's
don't
going
need
to
to
be
right now.
special. It will be special because people are invested in the angle. That when you wrestle, they're like, "Oh, we can't wait to see this guy get his butt kicked," or vice
Yes.
versa. They can't wait to see you kick some butt. But depending where you are, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about that. You brought him up. Let's talk about all these people because I think it's super cool for you. You're young. You're like 18, 19 years old, and you're working with Christian Cage. You're working with Adam Copeland. You're working with Sting. Let's start with Christian. How has it been with Christian? And what have you learned the most from him so far?
Christian's brain, man, is like no other. With wrestling, with promos, with longevity, um, him alongside Adam and Sting have been doing it for years, for decades. They know what's best. Uh, they know it works. They know how to be successful because all three of them are very successful in the sport. Um, so I feel like when you look at them and you have the opportunity to be under their learning tree, you should just sit there and be quiet and just have your ears open. And that's what I try to do every Wednesday, every Saturday. Um, so with Christian, his promos, obviously his promos are pretty brutal,
Yeah.
um, but they're structured very nice, and just promos have kind of been something that I don't want to say is like a weak point of mine, but like you mentioned on the independents, I didn't do many on the
Yeah.
independents. I would do them very rarely, like maybe like a backstage promo post match, or maybe after the match, inside the ring. But it was like you didn't really cut them as often as you would on TV. Um,
And
so
they
just
weren't
kind
very
of
angle driven. They were very just match driven. Like, I'm gonna fight you at this place. I'm gonna kick your butt or whatever. Right? It's not very.
yes.
Well, this is like angle driven. They're trying to follow a story. So when you're cutting these promos, like every promo is gonna have a start, middle, and end, and it's different
Yes.
for you. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, on the independents, whenever there was kind of like a story or a feud and I have to cut promos, I thought they were pretty good. Um, but then when you get to TV, it's kind of way different. They got like pinpoints and stuff rather than on the independents. It's like you
Yeah.
have a rivalry, you have a match with so and so, go, and then it's kind of your open page to say whatever. Um, Not saying that's not at AEW, but obviously there's like not a script, but like an outline
Yeah.
basically. So just trying to like get used to that. I feel like Christian is the best to help me with that, and he does, which I'm very thankful for.
How crazy is it that Sting is retiring next March and you got to be in one of his final matches, his last match in LA? Like, I know, like, as a young fan, like watching Sting and he's this enigma. What does that mean to you as like a fan? Like, take the Nick Wayne, the wrestler, aside for a second, and what did that mean to you, like, as a fan?
So once I heard that Sting's retirement was coming up in February, um, once we got closer and closer to the 6 man that we had at Full Gear in LA, it was maybe a week before that I was like, this is one of Sting's last matches, like ever. And his last match in LA and California, however it'll be played out. Um, but this is one of his last matches ever. And Sting doesn't wrestle every Wednesday. He doesn't wrestle every Saturday. He's like he's an attraction. You know what I mean? When Sting is on the show, he's an attraction. You want to see Sting. Um, so aside from Nick Wayne, the wrestler, it was such an honor, and I couldn't stop thanking people that made it happen
Yeah.
after the match because I was just so grateful and thankful, and I thanked him. And it was after the pay-per-view where I'm sitting in my hotel and I'm kind of just like thinking and trying to replay everything and not take it all in because I took it all in the moment, but just kind of replay everything. And I'm just like, wow. I was like, I was just a part of one of Sting's last matches. I just wrestled Sting. I'm 18. I just wrestled Sting, and
Yeah.
it was just like it made me tear up. You get a lump in your throat, and it's like, man, I can't believe this life. Like I can't believe this is happening right now.
Yeah, no, I would be mind blown. That's insane. Like you got to his last match in LA was
Yeah.
you were involved with him. That's crazy. And you're 18. You just got into the business not too long. I mean, you've been in the business for a very long time, but I mean, like you just got into AEW not too long ago, and you got to wrestle Sting in one of his final matches. And obviously Adam Copeland, someone
Yep.
who, say, 4 years ago, you'd think you'd never be able to wrestle or share a ring with. He was retired for most of your childhood. And then here he is, and across the ring from you. And that also has to be completely wild to just even think about. The AEW roster is full of depth. It's probably one of the biggest rosters in the wrestling right now, with so much talent from top to bottom, from young guys to legends and other top names. Who are you looking forward to get in the ring with? Who are people that you really want to work with that you haven't had the opportunity to work with yet? And I feel like that's a loaded question because there's so many people, but like off the top of your head, who are some people you love to wrestle?
Bryan Danielson,
Yeah,
most definitely. Bryan Danielson actually used to watch Buddy on TV, and
yeah,
he sent a student of ours to the school. Uh, he did a book signing in Seattle, and someone went to him like, "I want to be a professional wrestler. I live in Bellevue, Washington." He's like, "Where should I train?" And he was like, "Buddy Wayne is in your backyard." And he was like, "Please go train there." And he watched him the first time I met him. He's like, "I used to watch your dad on TV when I was young." I'm like, "Wow, that is crazy. That's so awesome." So I
yeah,
feel like it'd be like a cool like full circle in a way. So Brian, and of course he's the best wrestler in the world.
100%.
So you'd want to wrestle him, you'd want to get better, you'd want him to elevate you, and that's exactly what I would like. As well as Kenny Omega, I feel like Kenny Omega has had so many just amazing matches, and when you think of amazing matches or 5-star matches, you think of guys like Kenny Omega and guys like Will Ospreay. And Will Ospreay, the newest AW signing, I have wrestled him once before, but I would like to do it one more time on a platform like AEW. Um,
Have you ever
so yeah,
got the people? Has anyone ever said you remind them of a young Will Ospreay? Has that ever hit you before?
dude, like every day.
Because
So
when I asked my Discord for questions, someone asked, they're like, "Go ask him if he feels like he's like a young Will Ospreay." Why?
there's so many people tell me you're young Will Ospreay. You remind me of Will Ospreay. The first time I met Ospreay, he was like, "Dude, you look just like me."
That's hilarious. So Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson, those three good picks. Is there anybody else? Like, how about on the? I guess Ospreay falls nothing but on the younger side of things.
Oh, Daniel Garcia.
Yeah,
Really
fair
want to
enough.
wrestle Daniel Garcia. Ray Phoenix.
Yeah,
I'm super inspired by Ray Phoenix. Pac as well. Um,
I miss Pac. That would be dope. Yeah.
yeah, super, super. I'm super inspired by him as well.
So there's been some, there's been some buzz on the internet about your former tag team partner in the Independents, Jordan Oliver, the whole East-West connection. How much would you like to have him in AEW? Would you like to have that, reuniting again in AEW?
Very much so, man. It's one of my goals, to be honest. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
I I have people that I'm very close with outside of AEW, and Jordan is one of them. He's one of my best friends in this world. Honestly, like as a human, as a wrestler, Jordan's one of my best friends, and we just clicked so easily because one time on the Independence we got paired up together to do a tag team, and it was like, all right, it's just a random match, let's just do it, and we clicked. We were in sync. It looked like a mirror image, and we were like,
yeah,
wow, like we got something here. So we continued to team on for about a year or so and win the GCW Tag Team Champions. And we were one of the best on the independents. We were ranked 65 in PWI's tag teams, and we've only tagged for a year, which is
yeah.
pretty crazy.
Top
Um,
100. That's crazy. Yeah,
yes, yeah, yeah. So it's definitely a goal of mine that I want Jordan Oliver in AEW. I want him by my side. I want to continue the East West Express for as long as possible because I truly think we have something special for such a young age that we are and the insynchrony we have. So it's definitely a goal of mine to one day, when the stars align, to have Jordan in AEW and continue the East West
say
Express.
say I was the promoter and I had to make that decision. Like, how would you sell Jordan Oliver out to me? Like, what would you say is the best qualities of Jordan Oliver for those that may not have seen him?
He honestly, when you think of the student of the game, Jordan Oliver defines the student of the game. This dude, people who followed him online, they saw his crazy physical transformation he had. Um, he's just like one of the hardest workers in the room. He's dedicated. He wrestles. The second he comes to the back, he's on the match. He's watching what just happened.
Yeah,
He's his own biggest critic. He's always trying to get better. Um, in the gym every day. He eats right. He wrestles 5 times a week. Always just going hard, wanting to put on amazing matches. And he's going to that next level. You know, he's doing all the independents. He's done almost everything there is to do in America, independence wise. He's gone international. He's done the UK, France, Japan. Um, he's about to go do a long UK excursion coming in January. But I want him to keep going. I want him to keep striving, because one day I think when the stars align, we can have East West Express in AEW.
Now I'm going to be looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, you have a deep history with Defy. You've left a little bit of your own legacy there, and there's a bunch of talent there now. Do you still keep up with it regularly? Obviously, you've had shows there, but you're still. And so, who are some people in Defy that you think people should look out for right now?
Cody Chun, right now he is just crowned the Defy Primo Lucha champion. Cody's another one that I've known for a very, very long time, since I was like 9 or 10. I refereed his first match. When he had his first match, he didn't know he was wrestling that day, and one day we
Yeah.
just surprised him. We're like, "Yo, we're doing an 8-man tag here.
Yeah.
You're in it. Let's go." And he's like, "What?"
No, Cody's dope. Cody's dope. Someone actually mentioned in my Discord once when I asked if anyone had questions. They're like, "Can you ask Nick when he's gonna put Cody over at Defy?" And I said, I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up."
Cody actually is one of my favorite matches I've ever had. We wrestled at
Yeah.
Defy in like a 30-minute match. He's one of my favorites of all
Yeah.
time. But yeah, he's just such an amazing talent. Very underrated, I would say. Yeah, very underrated, I would say. At Defy, current champion, Kenta. Kenta, obviously a living legend. Everyone knows that. Guillermo Rosas, Cody Chun's tag team partner. They don't really team at Defy, but together they are C4. An amazing tag team that I would love to see other people wrestle on the independents, for them to kind of get out more on the independents, maybe on the East Coast or the Midwest or something like that. Definitely C4. Yeah.
If people, now that you've had the exposure you've had with AEW, people haven't seen a lot of your stuff in the independents, what are 3 matches of yours that they can find online that you would recommend for them to go watch?
Me versus Will Ospreay from GCW. It was June of 2022. The full match is on YouTube. That match shocked the world for months' time, and people still talk about it till this day, and it's been over a year ago. So that was like one of the craziest matches. It was one of those matches where everybody was watching. And it was one of the best days of my life. You know, Ospreay is my biggest inspiration. My dream match, honestly, in wrestling was to wrestle Will Ospreay. So that entire day was just crazy. There's a mini documentary on YouTube as well about that entire day.
I've seen the match. I have not seen the documentary. I should check out the documentary.
Yes, it's like it's like 7 minutes long.
Yeah.
Me versus Swerve. There's 2 matches on Defy on the YouTube channel, but the second one, both of them actually, but the second one was for the Defy World Champion. It was like 40 minutes. One of my craziest matches. Both matches actually got a lot of attention and a lot of attraction. Like over like 300K views. Yeah, a lot of attraction it got me, a lot of attention. People were talking about it for years. When we did the first one, people talked about it for like a full year, and then we had the second one, and now they're talking about it again.
Yeah.
And then me versus Kenta, also on the Defy YouTube channel. I feel like why I say Kenta is because, one, he is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and I'm very heavily inspired by him. I've watched so many of his matches for years, and I always wanted to get in the ring with him, and I never knew if I could or if the opportunity would ever come, because he is from Japan, and I was like, I don't really see him do American indies often, so I was like, I don't know if this is ever something that'll come my way, and it did at 17. So I was just very thankful to have that match, and I feel like it also shows a kind of different style in me, you know, because I'm very high flying and maybe like flashy in the ring, but when it was with Kenta, it was very hard hitting. You know, we're smoking each other with these kicks, we're elbowing each other in the jaw. So it just kind of shows a different style in me, as well as the Swerve Strickland match. You know, you get deeper in the match, it's like moves don't matter anymore. We're in a fight. So yeah.
That's awesome. You guys, check out those matches. The one against Will Ospreay at GCW, the 2 against Swerve, and the 1 against Kenta at Defy. Last but not least, I want to ask. Oh, actually, no, I actually totally missed a question I did want to ask you, and then we'll ask the last question. But the one before that is, how does it feel to have your mom on TV with you? Like that's. Did you ever think that was gonna happen? Like that your mom would be involved with you on TV? Like that's nuts.
I know. I had no idea this would ever happen. but I am very thankful for it. Because since Buddy passed when I was very young, all I have is my mom.
Yeah.
So at first, when I was doing AEW, she would come to kind of like my big matches. You know, she was there at the first one. She was there at Wembley. She's there at the pay-per-views. She was there for like tag match against Swerve and AR Fox. Um, and now she's kind of getting involved more in like angle stuff and in this story we're doing. So I'm very grateful she's doing it because she was just watching on the sidelines as like a very proud mom, but now she gets to be a part of it. And one day, in 5, 10 years from now, she can look back and say that she can happily be a part of that and was a part of that. And I'm glad she can say that as
And it's
well.
like a televised part of your journey, which is super cool. Like as a parent,
Yes.
to be part of that with you in such a young age of your journey, like it's just a cool thing you two will always have when you look back
Very
at
much
it.
so.
You're like, you know what, like I've done all this now, but it was really cool to have you there at the beginning. Like we were on TV together, cutting
Yeah.
promos with each other, didn't angle. Like that's super cool. Last but not least, I want to wrap this up with talking about Buddy. Obviously, Buddy was a huge influence in this Pacific Northwest area. A lot of the wrestlers that I've like supported and gone and watched out here, and whether it's in Vancouver or Seattle area, always had good things to say about Buddy Wayne. A lot of them were trained by Buddy Wayne. Is there something that he either said to you or taught you, or like just even like at a father-son level, not wrestling, that stuck with you, that you carry with you in life? Whether it's the way you carry yourself in that locker room, whether it's something you do as a wrestler, is there something that you took from him that when you're making like a major decision, you sometimes think, oh, what would Buddy think? And then kind of be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Is there something like that for you?
So I give Buddy credit, obviously, for everything that I know in wrestling. Obviously, when I started doing bigger independents, I would go under the learning tree of other people and kind of learn and pick their brains. Guys like Alex Shelley, I give a very big thank and credit to, and I would even say maybe even one of my teachers, just because he taught me so much, and we talk on a weekly basis, multiple times a week, and he's just constantly helping me. And but before that, from when I was 9 or even 7 until I was 15, 16, it was all just what I learned from Buddy. Um, and because I only had him until I was 11 years old, and there's no more lessons I can learn from him because he's not here. The ones that I did learn from him, I try to cherish and I try to use as much as possible, because I'm like, this is what he taught me. He can't teach me anymore now, so I want to live by this. And the biggest one was consistency is key. And I feel like the saying consistency is key is something that just goes in one ear and out the other because you hear it so often.
Yeah.
But consistency is, I feel like, a major key to success in life and in anything you want to do. Like if you want to be a painter, but you're not very good at painting, you're going to paint every single day. And then in a year or two, you're going to be an amazing painter just because you did it so consistently. And it was the same with professional wrestling. He would run classes 3 times a week, but the doors were always open if you wanted to come. If you wanted it, if you were hungry, you were going to come. That's why guys like me and Darby and King Cash were there 5 times a week, 6 times a week, because we wanted it and we were consistent with it. So you just always taught me consistency is key. Gym, eating, training, it's consistency. Every time I'm in the gym every day. I eat right. I train all the time. Every time I'm home, I'm in the ring training, because I want to get better. You know, there's times where I'm so frustrated, and because I just want to get better, and I'm in the ring, doing these drills, running myself to the ground. I'm super tired, and I'm just there, and I'm just screaming because I just want to get better. And but I know with consistency and over time, it will get better. You know, and those more times I could go to the gym every day, and 6 months from now, I will see progress. You know, I will look bigger than I did 6 months ago, just because of strictly consistency. And I think that's something he taught me, and also being there firsthand of him, seeing consistency from him. He ate right every day. He went to the gym 2 times a day. He'd wake up at 5 in the morning to go to the gym, come back, eat, nap, go to the gym again. And I
Yeah.
saw that every single day. So it's just like when you see someone that's so consistent and their consistency leads to success, it's like it's a motivation. It's like, well, if they're doing it off of consistency, I need to do it off of consistency to have the same success. So that's kind of what I learned from Buddy the most.
And you're totally not wrong about that. That's one of those things that, like, it sounds so cliche that people say like consistency is key, that it does go in one ear and out the other, but it's because it's true. You continue to keep doing something, you keep getting more reps, the better you're going to get it. Right? Practice makes better. It's another one of those phrases, but it's true, right? Like, it's the people that stop because they either hit a wall or they fail a little bit, or they feel like things aren't going as planned, or they get sick and everything falls off. Those are the people that end up falling off. If you stay consistent, things will continue to happen for you because you're putting in the work, you're putting in the hours. That whole Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours of doing something until you perfect it. We all learned that in school. Like, I believe in it. So I think that's actually really good advice. I'm glad you carried that with you, because that's why you are where you are today.
Most definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for doing this. It was great catching up with you. Hopefully, I see you in person. We can catch up properly that way instead of doing it in this interview form. But I want to get you on here sooner or later. I've seen you since you started, man. I've seen you before you started, and it's cool to see you on TV. Now every time you come on a pop, I'm like, that's crazy. This kid's on my TV now. That's nuts. like that's, so I'm proud of you, and it's super dope. I'm happy for you, and hopefully we can do this again. Maybe like we'll see how things go a year down the road and catch up and see what's different and see some more great names and people you've got to work with, and be a little happy about that as well, man.
Most definitely. Thank you so much for having me today. This was a blast.
No, thank you, bro. We'll keep doing this. Everyone, make sure you guys follow Nick Wayne on social media. Check out those matches. Look out for Jordan Oliver, and we'll see how Christian Cage does as a father figure for Nick Wayne. It seems to be going all right now, but we'll see where it goes. And we'll catch you all next time. Keep doing the thing.
It's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.